Yes, it's the sports outlet with Kei-Touch. Oh my goodness, so excited to have Coach Kenny Gray back with me.
You got it. Welcome. Hello, everyone.
Yes, and today, so excited to have Brian Hall, Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl champion with us today, man. And he is a defensive player. When I asked him, hey, what position did you play? He said, I played everything. I got it in. Brian Hall, welcome. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Man, what's up, everybody? My name is Brian Hall, 2012, 13 Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens, current founder of Life Prep Academy Foundation, and also a financial representative of Northwestern Mutual these days. So grateful to be here today and looking forward to a great conversation.
Yes, we're happy to have you here today, especially being a defensive player, because we're going to spend some time on that today. And Coach Kenny Gray, always, man, I love your insights, that coach's perspective, bringing that with us today. So let's just kick it off. Let's talk about the disparity of Black NFL head coaches. When the season kicked off this year, you had 5 Black head coaches. Todd Bowles with Tampa Bay. You had Aaron Glenn, New York Jets, Raheem Morris with Atlanta Falcons, and then DeMeco Ryans with the Houston Texans. And then we have Mike Tomlin, who is no longer now a head coach, and Raheem Morris of the Falcons is no longer a head coach. Right. It's just something, I just wanted you to share your thoughts about the league being predominantly Black players and the disparity of Black head coaches. I actually became a Steelers fan because of my father. Started watching the Steelers and we'll pull for him. Brian, look, okay.
And so I can be in this conversation if you're a lame ass Steelers fan. Excuse me with all due respect, but I guess we all can't be good. Okay, go ahead.
I'm a Houston Texans fan. Let me just make that clear. Yeah, I started watching the Steelers. Let me just clarify. I started watching the Steelers.
I love this. Listen, as a coach, I love this.
Man, supporting them because my dad was watching them one day when I was home, and I was like, what you doing watching the Steelers? Mm-hmm. He said, Mike Tomlin got a Black head coach. This was many years ago when he first started. So I was like, oh, wow. So I started paying attention and rooting for them just because they had a Black head coach. Okay. My heart is in Texas. It's down in Houston with the Texans, and we'll get to them later. So back to the head coaching. That's what we're talking about, the head coaches. Now it's 3. And with the 5 remaining teams, I'm not sure we're going to get 1 in there. I just want your thoughts, Coach. I'm going to start with you about the disparity of Black head coaches in the NFL when it's a league of predominantly Black players.
Well, it doesn't surprise me, because if there was fairness and there was some type of understanding of the best man gets the job, it wouldn't be a Rooney rule. You wouldn't need a rule to allow Black coaches to be interviewed in the National Football League. But we can go all the way back to civil rights. There wouldn't be a civil rights bill if it was fair for Black people in America. So when you take a look at the league, it looks a lot like America of old. You can take the white owners and the white slave owners. We can talk about this, but here's the thing. It's a black eye for this nation. It's a black eye for this league to not hire the right person for the job. I've said that from day one. Here, when I first became a high school football coach in my county of Anne Arundel County, I was the 4th Black head coach in the history of that county. And that county is over 300 years old. Okay, so therefore, we ain't talking about nothing new. We're talking about what's right now. So it's the disparity is going to always be there until we start owning some things. Period.
Your thoughts, Brian?
I guess the first thought I had was, where did they classify Mike McDaniels at? I'm not sure where they had him. I know he got fired too for the Dolphins, but I don't know. Was he a minority pick? Is he black?
We don't know.
Right. I just want to throw that
We
one
don't
out there.
know. Yeah.
I'm not sure where we label him at. But I mean, obviously there's 5 more coaching jobs out there. I want to make sure that I do believe in that we are moving in the right direction. I will say too that, making sure that we do have afforded those opportunities and making sure that we are in position for those opportunities. Equity in what that looks like is always important. It's interesting to see, obviously we have so many job head coach opportunities out there right now. You see Brian Flores ended up signing back with the Vikings, right? Would love to know, what happened within those coaching jobs to make him, who seemed like a qualified candidate. It's one thing to say like coaches in general. It's another thing to say like who are the qualified coaches that we believe, are afforded an opportunity. And the more people that we can recognize for those opportunities, we want to know why, they haven't had that opportunity, right? So it's just like when you go back and look at Brian Flores, who I think has been a hell of a coach. Him as a head coaching before showed that he was a winner, right? It wasn't like he had some of the poor records that some of us have had before, as far as the black coaches, what it looks like. So with him specifically, why did he end up signing back? Why was that the best opportunity he had? Was the one he already had, right? Usually when you have shown that you've been good in a certain situation, you usually elevate up from that. So how did he go from a non-lateral situation, right, to the situation he was already in? But then also, just making sure that we are pushing our coaches to make sure they do have a chance to even be highlighted. Like, once again, when I'm thinking about it, I think Brian Flores is one of the first people. Mike Tomlin, I don't know if he's going to come back and coach this year, right? Is he going to be afforded the same opportunity? And then making sure that we are developing these coaches to be in line for these opportunities. Because I also believe that, obviously we talk about these coaches. A lot of coaches have been around, especially white coaches or non-minority coaches have been around a lot longer than us. And so we want to make sure that these guys are also being developed to be able to afford to be a qualified candidate and what that looks like. So it'll be interesting to see, how these last 5 jobs go. But I do believe that Brian Flores was one of the best candidates out there. I thought he was going to end up landing potentially with the Baltimore Ravens. But once again, we'll see what that looks like. But I am curious of why he felt like it was best that Minnesota was his best opportunity to move forward.
Yes, and just to state, since you brought up Mike McDaniel, he is biracial and he was fired on January 8th. So he's no longer the head coach. And then we do have another minority head coach who is Dave Canales of the Carolina Panthers, who is Mexican American.
There we go. All right. Shout out to you too. You know what I'm saying? So
also the Ravens head coach, the new one just brought in. Actually, I heard that there's something with the Rooney Rule allowed him to become. Now we gotta shake the tree and see if he's got some color in him or something in there. But these rules should not have to be, because it's the Rooney Rule. Like Brian was saying, it should be the best candidate who just happened to be black or Mexican or white or whatever. Oh my, that's what they need to do. So right now you got nepotism in there because of the family tree of sons and grandsons and so on. It's rampant, but it reminds me of the old founding fathers.
I mean, I do believe in the Rooney Rule, right? I do believe that sometimes you got to force people to see what they don't necessarily want to see, right? And so I'm not sure about what you mean about the mentor, if he qualified. I do know that Brian Flores did, interview. Yes. He was afforded these opportunities, but once again, I would love to know why he's not a head coach right now. Why he's not and once again, we do know he had lawsuits, he had other things going on. But as far as being qualified, to me, he's one of the top, nominations out there, especially doing the things he was doing with he overachieved with that defense that he had in Minnesota and made them very well. So I don't know why he's not afforded some of the same opportunities to, start a franchise and turn the corner with them.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. They just hired a new head coach, Jesse Mintzor. They have a 5-year deal with him. want your thoughts on him and what he may bring to the team and what Baltimore needs. This season was disappointing for Baltimore. Very disappointing. I'm gonna start with you, Brian.
Man, I think I don't know Jesse personally. I have seen his resume. I've seen the things that he's been able to do, especially with the Chargers. I know a lot of guys who played under him, some of my old teammates, and they speak very highly of him. It definitely sounds like he's qualified, more than qualified to come in and lead this team. This is a team that's built behind a really great organization. It's in a win now mode, and I think that he can come in and, number one, our defense is something that's always been the blueprint of when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, and having a coach that's defensive minded to hopefully bring back the greatness of what our defenses have always been, and understanding what the team balance has to look like, or what that looks like as well. I'm excited to see what it looks like. I believe in Steve Bisciotti. I believe in the organization. Number one is one of the first class organizations out there, period. And I know that they're going to bring back what it means to play like a Raven. And Jesse's been, places that he's excelled at, with the Ravens. He won a championship with the University of Michigan. And, seeing what he's done with that Chargers defense. Obviously, for example, we had a kid that was, quote unquote, underperforming here, and then Adafe Owe, and he ends up going out to San Diego and, turning into a sack machine, right? And so, excited to see what he's able to do with this defense that's now built for a championship. And I do believe that just as much as he's bringing to the table, the organization is going to be able to wrap his arms around him and make sure he's in a position to succeed.
Well, first, he's got the best job in the league, number one team, right? That team has everything, that you want in a new position, new head coach. So therefore, it's not that you would start from the bottom with a team. No, you inherited something great. The second team would be Pittsburgh Steelers' job. Those two openings were probably the other premier teams that any coach could fall into and win soon, quick, the first year, whatever, because they're already established that way. But the question is, how do you get the Baltimore team stop beating up on themselves? Because a lot of those losses and things, it was because they didn't do their job. It wasn't because other teams were better. They just was something going on in that locker room or within that injury or whatever the case, just was not clicking for that team. So this coach is coming in with a damn good hand. If we was a spades game, he got both jokers. He got a deuce as well, and the ace sitting there. You got to play that hand, big fella. That's a four. That's four all the way.
Hey, Kenny, can I hear what spade hand does the Steelers have? I'm just.
There's the Steelers have the king. They have the king. They have the king, the queen, and the jack, and the 10. That's what they have.
And you can still get no books with that. That's all I'm saying.
That's why I said with the Ravens. That's why I said with the Ravens, because they beat themselves.
Yeah.
The king, the jack, the queen, the king reign supreme because they probably played it too soon.
I don't think the Steelers are the second. 100% organizational wise, and once again, I'm gonna try to be as impartial as possible, but. The Buffalo Bills job has to be the number two best.
Well,
job.
I totally forgot about that. You know what? When that came over,
let me just
you organizationally wise, but team wise, they don't have a quarterback.
I told they fired him 3 days ago, right? I totally forgot about that.
Right, yeah. So it's like, this is an uncomfortable situation.
Okay, well, we're gonna give Pittsburgh the ace of heart, the ace of club. And that diamond.
I'll give him a solid 5 of spades, but go ahead.
Crazy. So let me just name the teams that need a head coach: Bills, Steelers, Raiders, Browns, and Cardinals. They all need a head coach.
Yeah.
And Brian, you have this disdain for the Steelers, man. I mean, you said.
Yeah. Well, I hate the Steelers, number one. That's just comes with it, and anybody from Pittsburgh is gonna feel the same way about us. But then also, just that aside, I think they're one of the top organizations, right? That's what makes a rivalry that good is their ability to respond. I also know, like I said before, like if you look at the jobs that are remaining, I think the Buffalo Bills is the hottest job out there. You have a quarterback that's established. You have enough players around there that's been around long enough, and they are a quarterback and a couple players away from being where they need to be. I think Pittsburgh still needs to find a solution around the quarterback. Obviously A-Rod coming back would be a plus, but that's not guaranteed. They got a lot of holes around that they need to fill. And once again, we'll see what they decide to do with their coaching staff. Like I said, Brian Flores isn't out there. A lot of coaches that maybe were qualified, just as qualified. Have McDaniels is out there, and San Diego or Los Angeles, excuse me. So it's just like I don't know. Like I said, I think that obviously Pittsburgh's always going to find a way to be relevant, but their relevancy has cost them because they're not able to get afforded top picks. They're not afraid. They're not that mediocrity for so long with just being very average. It's costing them because they can't go out and get a top 5 quarterback. They're always going to pick in the top 15 or the second top 15, right? 16 and above. And so it makes it hard for them to go get a franchise quarterback, and it's also going to make it hard for them to retool in the ways that they need to. So we'll see.
We're trending right now that Philip Rivers, maybe
the head coach for the
Bills, for the Buffalo Bills. Are you look? But that's what I'm saying. This is how this league works, man. The owners are going to. And I think we talked about it on the show before. It's who they're comfortable with at some point, right? So,
all about the comfort level, huh?
I think so.
All right.
Man. From high school coach to NFL quarterback to potential head coach, man. I mean,
there you go.
It speaks for itself. No comment.
Speaks for itself. Yep.
You see it happen. So I want to talk about 2 games that occurred last weekend that I feel like they went wrong, in my opinion. And I just want your thoughts on them.
Why did they go wrong? Why do you think they went wrong?
Which games are they?
Bring them up. Let's get started, Brian. Let's talk about the Texans. What went wrong with the Texans? I mean, I just feel, and this is my personal opinion, I feel any quarterback, any NFL quarterback, any string that does not turn over the ball 4 times in the first half, was it 4 or 5? 4 times in the first half, they win the game. And any quarterback that does not throw a Hail Mary to avoid being sacked and throw it directly at the opposing team that runs it back for a pick 6 wins the game.
I will say that, football is a beautiful sport, man. Football is the ultimate team sport. People talk about 11 versus 11. It's not 11 versus 11. It's actually 40 men, right? You got special teams, you got kickers, you have everybody who plays a major role in the game. For every, interception that CJ Stroud threw, you do know that the ball at some point, was a sack strip. Danielle Hunter could have picked it up for a touchdown. Right. I mean, these are things that the defense could have done around a lot of those plays, right? Like the defense had opportunities to score. Drake May was fumbled 4 times in the first half as well, right? These are things that when another defense is playing as hard as they are, you got to be able to match that intensity too and force those same turnovers, which the Texans had an opportunity to look at, right? And I'm speaking just being a pro, right? Understanding that as bad as CJ played, and CJ's been in the funk. It's not just those 4 turnovers. The one he had in the second half, he had 3 turnovers in Pittsburgh, and you got to be able to rally behind that. One thing I do admire about D'Amico is that he has a solid belief in his quarterback, and people got to rally around that to make sure they understand that too. I think CJ, he definitely struggled. I mean, I'm not gonna, hide behind that or try to disguise it, but it's the ultimate team sport, man. And at the end of the day, they lost by 12 points. And, those 12 points could have been made up by 2 touchdowns that the Texans 100% had in their hands, but the ball just bounces in a funny way sometimes. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't their year to move forward. But at the same time, you're hoping that these are building blocks to continue to move forward and, make sure the Texans are going to be around. I think CJ's got to go home and look in the mirror and understand what that looks like, and understand who he wants to be and the quarterback and the franchise quarterback he needs to be for the Texans. But he definitely did not support their efforts of winning more than he deterred it. So, but at the same time, man, I mean, there was opportunities for days in that game that the Texans could have had, not just from what he was doing, but also the Texans defense, which was as great as it was. It had to actually finish great by corralling some of those forced fumbles, corralling some of those interceptions that they had on the table and turning those to 6 points too.
Exactly.
Okay.
So from a coach's point, I would have, I'm going to look at the stats. I'm going to look at where we are, but also have to know my personnel in a situation with the 5 or whatever turnovers. Who do I put on that field to turn this around? I think once you look at what the coach's decision was not to bench the quarterback, everybody think he should have been benched. He said, no, I'm going with the best players I know that can turn this thing around. That's a coach's decision. Now, from a fan standpoint, we all gonna have our opinions. We will. But see, when you talk about the points that the other team received because of the offensive mishaps, right? That's, what did they earn? What did the other team earn? But when Brian just spoke about that, it's those intangible things that took place from the other side to force these things to happen. That's what a lot of people don't really look at. They really don't look at it. They look at the interceptions, they look at the fumbles, but how and why are these things happening? Could be
Coach,
a side.
I have to ask you this from a coach's perspective, because I'm here in this conversation as a fan. Brian is here as a pro, and Coach, you're the coach. Okay. So in this situation, though, right, when you have a quarterback that's on the field pouting, moping during the game, you're the leader of the team. You're carrying that energy on the field.
Yeah,
and
that I can't.
Wait, they're freezing up there.
Yeah, I can't allow my leader to show any type of weakness at all, because it feeds off the other players, right? We have to really corral this thing and say, listen, if I have to sit my guy down and talk to him, I'll sit him to talk, but not the bench. But one thing I have to do is correct the optics and make sure that we are not quitting on each other, right? On any aspect of it. So yeah, my leader has to represent me as the head coach, because you're the one that runs that offense on that field. So yeah.
Do y'all feel like the Texans quit at any point in the game?
No, I don't think the Texans quit. I just think that their rhythm, their everything that I saw in that game, it was forced. There was a whole lot of things that Stroud made bad decisions based off of what was happening to him up front. And again, it was his decision at that time to make those throws or not. It was on him based off of what he saw. So I don't think it was just him throwing interceptions. It was reasons why he was doing those things with pressure, situations, even Brian, that you may see something in front of you, but then when the ball snaps, something else happens.
And I mean, the Patriots had a hell of a defense too.
Yes.
I mean,
something else takes place.
I think they're top 5. They're a top 5 defense, right? But at the end of the day, the two things that's going to get you beat every year is time of possession and turnovers. You can't turn the ball over.
Once that ball snaps, there is no correcting anything. It is
that turnovers are going to kill you. Yeah, I mean, every time. But once again, that defense also had opportunities to turn the game around. Like I said,
yes, they did.
Not picking up the fumble. Danielle Hunter trying to pick it up and go scoop and score, and he doesn't, secure the ball. And like I said, Drake may have 4 first half forced fumbles, right? That no one talks about because he only lost one of them. Yeah. Right. And they're like, what are the odds of him, being able to recover those balls? But sometimes, man, that's just how the football works. Sometimes it finds the other man and
it bounces.
Find yourself, So
yeah.
Very disappointing.
Josh Allen about that.
Just very disappointing. And you're right. They had a really good defense because the Texans could not run that football. They had to depend on CJ's arm. And in his defense, he had no weapons. Nico Collins was out. Schultz went out. He had nothing left. But
He
moving
had,
on.
yeah, but once again, I mean, I'm not going to say that either. It's the NFL, man.
Yeah.
If there's a receiver lined up, I mean, Jaden Higgins, is an ability to step up. I mean, they're down. I think they ended up losing 2 tight ends. They were down to Harrison Bryant at tight end, but if your name is called, you got to play. So
You gotta play.
you can't say there are nobodies. Those nobodies have to turn into somebodies for keep, right? That's why it's ultimate team sport. You never know when your name's going to be called, and when it is called, you got to go in there and be just like the person that was in front of you already. So,
53-man roster.
All right, let's move on to what went wrong with the Bears versus Rams.
Oh.
I really thought the Bears was going to pull that one off.
Oh, yes, I thought the Bears would win that game. My picks was the Bears. I picked the Bears to win that game. But that remarkable throw, everyone talks about the 26 yards going back and hitting the guy in the end zone. That's a defensive flaw. That wasn't because he threw the ball 50 yards and the guy's wide open, right? They stopped playing. That touchdown should have never happened, for one. But it's when he threw that ball, when he had all that time, and he underthrew his receiver. That ball should have been in the end zone, not underthrown at that time. It was a poor decision by Caleb to throw that ball under. It should have been in the end zone.
Which one? Which one are you talking about?
The interception at the end of the game.
Oh man, that's
You got to look at the relationship of where the ball was caught and where his receiver was. His receiver was here. The ball was thrown here, right? You got to put that ball.
That's what you call a miscommunication, though. That's not,
and that's what we're talking about.
Really look at the play. There was a guy that was over the top that was actually taking the safety away.
Remember, we said this.
Cut this off. He should have cut his route off and went straight, but he kept going forward.
He kept going
because he also didn't think the ball was going to come to him, and so that's just one of those things that that's just an unfortunate. That's top-notch, unfortunate mistake in that position. You know what I'm saying? DJ Moore needs to understand where he needs to be at spatially, like in that route. And then Caleb, I don't think Caleb was wrong in that situation. I think that the receiver should have ran the route the way Caleb threw it because of where everybody was set up in that. And so, that's just one of those things that you got to be better at and rep better because the quarterback is throwing you there to trust that you're going to be where he is.
Right.
The throw that he threw at the end, as far as the touchdown, I think it's an incredible throw. 99% of the quarterbacks in the NFL can't make that throw. And the fact that he was able to sit there and make that in that moment was nothing short of, showing how and why he was the number 1 overall pick. Yeah. Saying all of that, man, I think that the Rams are a hell of a team. I think that, Sean McVay has a very good, team on that side. I think that the Chicago Bears overachieved this year in a lot of ways. And, obviously coming in with a rookie head coach, the things that they were able to do to, take down the Packers this year, take down the Vikings, the teams that were supposed to be at the top of that division, and them to go earn the 2 seed. I think they overachieved this year. I think that the Rams are in one of the best divisions in football, and they're one of the best teams out there. Just cut from the NFC West and what that looks like. So I think that the Bears gave it their very best, and the game went into overtime. So it's like, what happened? I don't know. They ran out of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't have enough time to get everything done. But I thought it was a phenomenal game. And it's a game that on both sides, you don't have any reason to hold your head down. I think,
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Fell off. Once again, it comes down to the miscommunication of where you have to be in that moment. When the bullets are flying, you got to make a decision. DJ decided to take it where he needed to be, and Caleb threw him to where he felt like he needed to be in that moment. So, I think that was a hell of a game. And, like I said, I think the Bears have a position, they're in a great position to move forward. But, you can't be defined by that moment, good or bad. And so next year they start back over, and we'll see how they come back.
And I think to your point of the overachieving had a lot to do with that one young man leading that offense, and that was Caleb. Caleb was a great game manager, and you did see that he could absolutely be an athlete if he needed to be. That had a lot to do with that achievement that they met this year, and that bar that came up high was because of one person on offense leading that team.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think coaching matters. I think Ben Johnson is a hell of a coach. He's a hell of an offensive coordinator. The crazy part about the Bears were they struggled all year with injuries, and then they got all their defensive guys back in time to make it a game. If they continue to be the team that they were in late in the regular season, they would have got blown out by the Rams hands down. But they were able to get back, and I think Coach Ben Johnson did a hell of a job of putting them in position to win. And coaching matters. Coaching matters. I think Ben Johnson's shown that he can go with the best of the best. I think Sean McVay is one of the top 5 coaches in the league, and he showed that he can put them in position. And so I think, and it kind of goes back to Caleb and CJ. Things that I would definitely want to challenge them to be really great at is the basics. I think that for all the theatrics that we're talking about, a lot of just easy missed throws were happening. And so for all the greatness that happens, and greatness comes around, 5% of the game, you have to be consistently average and making the average throws. And that's something that I think both of them struggle to do. And so, with them coming back next year, man, all the greatness is great. But what wins you is just being extremely great at the basics and being able to complete a slant, can be able to complete the basic routes that give your receivers confidence, right? When Jaden Higgins, you're not expecting him to make the miracle throw, but we are expecting you to catch, but you're expecting him to make the average 3-yard slant, right? These are the things that I would like to see Caleb get better at, because all the theatrics are great and it looks good at the end of the game. But the reason why you're in that position is because some of the missed throws that you had earlier in the game too. So I want to make sure that there's a balance to all of that. Everybody loves Superman, but Clark Kent was made Superman. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the last 2 games we have this weekend. We have the Broncos and the Patriots. Want to know your picks, Coach?
I'm looking for a good football game. I think both of these teams are well coached, and I think coaching is gonna matter in this game based off of who's in, who's not in. So, like Brian said, look, this is the pros. This is not time for excuses or anything. You got to play now. So I think coaching is going to come out, look at the personnel in which they have, and utilize the people that will best make a decision or a system operate for this particular weekend. So my pick, though, is going to be Patriots to win.
Why?
Why? Why?
That's the one before Z. Yep.
Yeah.
Why? I think Grable's going to have them locked in all the way through it from a coaching standpoint, and I take nothing away from the coach at the Peyton. I take nothing from him. He's a good coach, but I think Grable has put into this team this year the belief that they can win, even with the 4 turnovers and the forced turnovers, like you said. I think this team believes something, and we're going to see if it's real, if it's Cinderella or not. We're going to turn into a pumpkin or not. And I told you, we're going to see.
What are your picks, Brian?
No. You got to get another pick. I'm dying to hear both of them before I go.
You got to do yours. We're doing one at a time.
So we're only talking about the Broncos Patriots game right now.
Right now. So what's your picks? Yeah.
First of all, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm a little biased. One of my little brothers plays for the Denver Broncos. His name is Alex Singleton. I love Alex to death. He had 14 tackles his last game. He's come up the hard way in the NFL. This year he beat. I don't know if you guys know his story, but he had a drug test where he tested positive. His testosterone was crazy. Found out he had testicular cancer. Missed 2 games and came back in and was playing right away, man. So that's my little brother. Wow. I think he has a hell of a story. But that being said, I don't know how good the Patriots actually are. I think that they survived a lot. Once again, we're talking about Danielle Hunter. If Danielle Hunter picks up one of those forced fumbles and scores, that's a touchdown, right? That puts the game in a whole different shape. I think that Nick Bonito And the other guy, I mean, they got some dogs on the Denver front line, right? Patrick Surtain is going to, their defense, and they're at home. And quite honestly, I don't know how good Bo Nix is. I think Bo Nix is a very solid quarterback. I don't know how good he is.
Nix is out.
I know that he's put his team in a great position, and I think Jared Stidham can come in and do an admirable job. I think the hardest thing in the world for an NFL coach to do is prepare for a backup that has no tape on. So you got to go in and prepare for a team that you're not familiar with a new, backup quarterback. I think that, these are the games that Sean Payton lives for. Have an opportunity at home, and this Patriots team is going to be on the road. If you can't tell who I'm going with, I'm definitely going with the Denver Broncos in an upset with a team. Once again, I think the Patriots overachieved this year. I don't know how many good teams they've actually beat this year. I know that when the Packers were at their highest, I know the Broncos, beat them, right? I know that the Broncos have been denied a lot of times this year, but they beat some quality teams. I don't know how many quality teams that have played up to the potential, right? I think that if the Houston Texans play up to their potential, we're not talking about the Patriots this year, right? This week, I think we're talking about the Texans. And so I like the Broncos, the upset. Go ahead, Jared, send them do your thing, and definitely wishing my boy Alex the best, and hanging out with him in Super Bowl week next week.
Well, let me also say this. You're right. I said this all year about the Patriots, but we're talking about
Hey, brother, you get to choose. You chose your side. All
right. But I'm with you though. I'm about both of these teams for me, honestly, are Cinderella. That would be the Broncos and the Patriots for me all year. That's for me. So we're gonna see which one.
The Patriots knew what they were doing. The Patriots are a heck of a team, but like I said, man, I think the Broncos, their D line, man, is nasty. Like I said, they got their D line, their front four is gonna get after. Now, like I said, you see what Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson were able to do, especially in Mile High too. I mean, that place is gonna be rocking, and Bo Nix is gonna be on the sideline, and they got enough juice, I think, to get the game, get the win.
And my pick is in.
All right, next game. Rams at the Seahawks.
Oh,
Coach, who do you have?
Who you picking, Keith?
Listen, my pick last week was Seattle and Houston Super Bowl. One of them not in there. I still got one left. So there's just not more for me to speak.
All right, Brian asked what my pick was. So, okay, let me tell you. I'm pulling for the Broncos.
Pats. Let's talk about that one. Yeah, who you got?
Broncos.
Okay. I did a hell of a job explaining. See how that works?
Yep.
See how that look.
And I just have a disdain like you feel for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Patriots. Okay. And I've had that for quite a while. So anybody but them. Okay.
Okay. All
and then especially after last week. All right. So the Rams at the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Coach got the Seahawks. Once again, man, I don't know how many people see this or whatever. I believe in Sean McVay, man. I think that he has all the tools. No offense. I mean, obviously, don't get it twisted. The Seahawks are like descendants of the Ravens, right? Coach McDonald was out there, one of my good coaches. One of my guys that I came into the NFL with, Josh Bonds, is a position coach for the Seahawks, right? But man, when I look at that team, man, as great as they are, they run the ball. The defense is great. They've been awesome. I just don't believe in Sam Darnold, man. Like, Sam Darnold has really struggled against the Rams defense. And one thing about Sean McVay, man, he's a psychopath when it comes to, getting the team in position. They've been on the road. I mean, they cut their teeth last week in Chicago. An unbelievable, weather, environment. I think that, Seahawks, obviously this is a division game, so it's not like, anything else you've ever seen. And it's really hard to beat great teams, more than once, right? And I just don't – and in both of those games, if you go back and look at the Rams and Seahawks, Sam Darnold has been extremely below average. I ain't talking about average. I'm talking about below average. He's had a lot of turnovers in those games. Zach Charbonnet, which is a running back for the Seahawks, he's out for the year. So the two-head monster that, Seahawks have had all year, They like to run the ball. They like to control the game through running the ball, keeping their defense off the field. I think that Sean McVay is going to be able to turn that around. And unfortunately, man, I think that the Rams are going to be another road warrior win. And, I got the Rams in another upset this weekend, and I'm going to the Super Bowl.
Okay. I'm just pulling for the Seahawks. I'm very disappointed. I thought my Texans would still be in this. So I'm just picking right now. It's not even an analysis. It's just, who do I want to win?
Okay. All right. So we got Seahawks. So you got Seahawks, Patriots. Both of y'all got Seahawks, Patriots.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you next week.
Got the Broncos.
We're going to find out next week. We're going to call you next.
I didn't pick the Patriots.
We'll find out in a couple. No, I'm sorry.
We'll call you on Monday.
He got the Seahawks, Broncos.
Yeah.
And then Coach got Seahawks and Patriots. And then I got the Rams. So we're all over right now. We all got different
things. Yeah. All over. But Brian, something that's real important, and I want you to talk about it, being that you are a Super Bowl champion.
Let's
talk about that mindset, because you play the regular season games. That's one thing. And we're seeing this in the playoffs with these upsets. It's not necessarily the better team, but it's the one who has that mindset, that mental toughness. Talk to us a little bit about that, since you've actually experienced this, and that mindset that is required to win.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'd say is a better team always wins. And that's the part that you have to make sure you understand in this season, that the better team is going to be the one at the end that's going to have the Lombardi trophy, and it's going to have the, the confetti coming down, and, all the good stuff that comes with that. And so the biggest thing about, when we won it, obviously it was back in 2013 in New Orleans. Two of the, actually I want to give a shout out to, two of my brothers who are here today. Jacoby Jones, who had, Mr. World himself, Arthur Jones, who we lost just a couple months ago. RIP to two outstanding gentlemen that will forever live on in our hearts. So one thing about it, man, it was just the fact that it's something called, people love the word energy, right? Having energy, having all these great things. But when it comes to the mental health side and what that looks like, it's something called synergy. It's just how can you work with the next person beside you, and what is the mentality of what that looks like. And I'll never forget, talking with my big bro Ray Lewis. No matter what happens, we got to be able to find a way to win the game. Right. When you look back at that game, we were up a lot, right? And it came down to, one of my guys that I came into with that 2 years before that, Jimmy Smith, right? It came down to a couple of fade routes that he did a great job of making sure that, we secured the win with, right? And so, with the mentality of no matter what happens, we're going to find a way and continue to fight through all obstacles, everything your way, understanding that they were built, but they would never prosper, right? And so whoever believes in that the most is going to have the best opportunity. Once again, if you go back and look at the games, CJ still had a chance to win that game through every obstacle that he had in that quarter. It was still an opportunity to win that game. You go back to the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams, and at the end of the day, there were still opportunities to win that game. Man, you got to find a way to do it, because you work so hard all year for an opportunity that can be taken away if you're not staying in the moment and staying present with it and understanding that no matter what happens to you, and that's just not a football quote. That's not something that just happens in the game. That's real life. Understanding that no matter what the obstacle is, what the pressures, what the opportunities against you are, you always have a chance to win if you believe in that, though. But that's something that has to come from you personally. And if it comes from you, and it comes from the next person, and it comes from the next person, only thing you're going to ask for in this lifetime or in this football game is opportunity. And 4 teams have an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl this weekend. And so understanding that that's just an opportunity, but it's not just about the opportunity, it's about what you do with it and what you're willing to do about it, right? It's not about what you want. Everybody wants to win the Super Bowl, but What it comes down to is what are you actually willing to do about it, even when everything goes against you. So,
and I was going to ask you a question, but you answered all of it from a coach's standpoint, because we coaches set it up, and you play the game though. You play. The question was what was going to be what made y'all better, but you said the better team always wins. And then when you explained all that, I saw all that. But that one key word you said was synergy. That one right there. With the catches late, with being down or being up, it didn't matter because you said we have to find a way to win. Man, that was great.
And Brian, you said something we used to say in the Army. You find a way, make a way.
Make a way, yeah.
Find a way, make a way. You just make it happen, no matter what it looks like. You just find a way, make a way to get through it.
And that's for people who've never been in the Super Bowl. Now we're talking about the Super Bowl mindset.
Right. Yes.
Now, we're not talking about the opportunities last week. We're talking about the Super Bowl mindset. One game, 2 men enter, 1 man come out with the ring. That's what I'm talking about, brother.
And every year is only going to be one team, right? And so I mean, you go back and 2011 rookie year, we lost in the AFC Conference Championship game, right? That's the Lee Evans, drop pass. That's the Billy Cundiff wide left on a 32-yard field goal. And it's just understanding that those opportunities are either trampolines or it's going to be a graveyard, right? You're going to need to bury or it's going to lift you up to the next level. And so you got to make sure you understand that's why you keep going, right? That's why every season is its own season. That's why, no matter what happens, February, what is it, 8th, February 8th, after that game is over with, everybody goes back to ground zero and everybody tries again. And so, and like I said, man, that's life as well. It's not just Super Bowl things. These are things that you can apply directly into your own personal life. Just real quick, I'm a founder of Life Prep Academy Foundation. Big things about that is health awareness from a mental and physical standpoint, financial literacy, and just providing opportunities to underserved communities and understanding that the things that I'm talking about, within my foundation are the exact same things that help us win the Super Bowl. And so, that's the beauty about sports. That's the beauty about having discussions like this to understand just how close it really is to real life and how you can apply this not only in sports, but in your daily life. And this is how you become a champion, not only in sports, but a champion for the rest of your life. So,
man,
yes. And since you brought up your foundation, can you give us the website for it? Or
yes.
any way we can reach out to you?
Yeah, www.lifeprepacademyfoundation.com. And, we're based in Baltimore. We're based in my hometown of Paducah, Kentucky. And we're just, our biggest job is just to raise awareness in these certain fields, right? Whether it's, mental health aspects, especially with men. I do a lot, what that looks like. People don't understand that, 80% of suicides are by men globally. So this is something that's a pandemic in my life that I decided to make sure people are aware of and, having support behind it. Health, from a physical standpoint, it affects your mental health just as much. So we want to make sure that, we're promoting people moving and getting their body moving around and, losing that weight and staying active in their life. And, when things go on, not only are they equipped mentally, but are physically equipped to be able to, guide themselves through whatever obstacles come their way. Financial literacy side, like I said, I'm a financial rep. I work for Northwestern Mutual, where I build financial plans for people, families, athletes, NIL obviously is a big thing. And then providing opportunities for underserved communities, whether it's, my men's mental health events that I put on or, anything I can do to support, our youth and our adults as well, to just shape a better world for, us to live in. So.
Excellent.
All right. That's Brian Hall talking to you about Life Prep Academy Foundation. That's lifeprepacademyfoundation.com. Check him out. Brian, we're going to have you back because there's so much more to talk about as far as, transitioning out of this great game and what you've been able to accomplish and what you've been giving back. So we're definitely bringing you back, Brian, if you'll allow that.
I mean, as long as my picks go through and I don't look like a fool this week, I should be good. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
come on, man. I've been looking like a fool for almost 32 years. I'm still doing this.
I mean,
Like I said, man, as long as the Broncos and the Rams are playing the Super Bowl.
Hey man, it's a fairy tale. It's Cinderella. Okay, my pick is Seattle to win, so it doesn't matter what the other fairy tales do.
But gentlemen, I just have to say this has been a great football season. I've been saying it all season long. It's been exciting. It's been refreshing. You have new teams in different positions. It's not the same old dynasties showing up, I've been really excited. I mean, my team didn't get as far as I thought we could, but it was just a great season overall and brought me back just really enjoying it much more. This season was just electric to me. I just loved it. Entertaining the whole time, man. Entertaining the whole time. Again, you can follow Brian on IG at Brian. That's Brian with the Y _Hall, the number 6. Brian with the Y _Hall, the number 6. And you can follow Coach Kenny Gray at the Coach Kenny Gray, all spelled correctly, Gray, Gray, on IG. And me, you can find me at DJ Kei-Touch. Yes, look, I really enjoyed you, gentlemen. This was great. I appreciate you. Brian Hall, Coach Kenny Gray, Sports Outlet, Kei-Touch. This is how we do. Sports Outlet, Kei-Touch. Peace.
We got to talk.
Yeah.